So we, who are many, are one body in Christ, and individually we are members one of another. We have gifts that differ according to the grace given to us: prophecy in proportion to faith, ministry in ministering, the teacher in teaching, the exhorter in exhortation, the giver in generosity, the leader in diligence, the compassionate in cheerfulness. Good and gracious God, we gather together as many members of different teams and programs to unite in a new way. We have great diversity in our sports and our school communities. We have been richly blessed with talents that we are called to use as we compete, encourage, lead, and love one another this year. We say thank you for the opportunity to learn about, celebrate, and honor the gift of sports. We ask you to bless those who make our athletic programs possible. We pray for the health and safety of student athletes and their families. Let us pray for those who go without opportunity, without food, without safety, and more. Thank you for all your great blessings. In your name we pray, amen. Holy Spirit. All right, well, welcome. First of all, thank you. My name is Leo Lopoz. For those who don't know me, I'm VP for Athletics here in Concord, California. And I was just letting our panelists know, it warms my heart to see where this has gone from a long time ago. It's not just a song. Lodi is really an actual city. So the brief history is David Small was there in Lodi about, I don't know, it's almost closer to 10 years ago. I just thought it'd be good to get, I think Steve was there too. There's definitely quite a few people just decided to get Catholic schools together in California to try to start something to work with each other to really help Catholic schools be the best they can become. And as I look on the screen, as I looked at yesterday's different programming, and it's a great thing. So I appreciate everyone's support, and we'll get going. The point of this obviously is COVID best practices, is a roundtable discussion. We have, I went and was able to find three panelists from 3 different states that are going, and I think everyone kind of has a different range of what is or what is not. And I think, and so we're going to have a few generic questions, big picture questions for the group, and then we're going to break off into breakout rooms for a couple minutes to get a little bit more intimate in terms of being able to get sort of the 1 to small ratio and ask some questions of those guys. I'll kind of actually just I was going to do an introduction, but I'll just let each of them introduce themselves, because I think obviously they can speak for themselves. So from Iowa, from Bishop Heelan Catholic High School, we have Anthony Elias. So Anthony, if you want to just introduce yourself and a quick welcome to everyone.
Yeah, my name is Anthony. As Leo said, my name is Anthony Elias at Bishop Heelan. This is my 3rd year. I was an athletic director for 1 year at Siouxland Christian before that, and a long-time college basketball coach, and originally from San Jose, California.
Okay, Harold Barker of St. Louis Priory and St. Louis, Missouri. Harold?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I'm Harold Barker. I'm actually a first-year AD at St. Louis Priory School, and so we're trying to navigate through a pandemic, obviously, but also recently just changed our mascot from the Rebels to the Ravens, and so it's just been a pretty crazy year, but super blessed to be around a lot of supportive folks in our community, and just really pleased to be on this call. Hopefully I can help some people, and I know I'm going to learn a lot from you all as well. So thank you for the opportunity.
And from Denver, Colorado, Joey Mahmood, go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Joey from Mullen High School, Salle Catholic School in Denver. I'm actually probably the one in the bunch that's not an AD, Director of Sports Medicine, Director of Wellness, but I've worked with Leo in the past, and yeah, we definitely don't have the answers, probably have a lot of the things that we did wrong, but, willing to share and learn from you guys, and looking forward to this. So thanks.
Great. So we're going to go around the horn for about 5 minutes or so with some quick questions, but maybe Harold, if you could just discuss kind of like where you're at, so we understand what you've been doing the last, I don't know, 6 months. Some might be a little bit different than others. So if we could, get a quick overview of what sports you've been going on, and what your background is on your campus right now so far.
Absolutely. So it was really interesting. you know, when the summer hit and I started officially June 1st, you know, politically speaking, you know, the state was kind of divided. So the state of Missouri was really trying to figure out if we were going to have sports at all, if we were going to allow just individual workouts. And so as we went through the summer and we started the fall, what really became apparent for us was that a school like mine in St. Louis County was going to operate under different rules and guidelines than the schools that were outstate. And it was very surprising. Even the bigger town and suburban area like Kansas City, they actually fell in line with the state, where St. Louis County decided to kind of do their own thing. So we operate under much more strict guidelines, and you know, we really are kind of handcuffed with how St. Louis County Department of Health sort of does things. So, but that being said, you know, we were able I'd say about 2/3 into the football season or into the fall season, we were able to get football off the ground. We were able to get soccer going, and cross country actually a little bit earlier than that. And so it's been all about working within the guidelines. Our school, being one of 6 all-boys Catholic schools in St. Louis, you know, it's been interesting to work with those schools, but also to kind of take our own stance on how we're working with the St. Louis County Department of Health. And that would probably be my number one piece of advice is, if you're not playing sports yet, find a way to work directly with the county Department of Health or whoever ends up, you know, kind of governing or putting together those guidelines. The better the relationship you have with them, I think the better the outcome will be, and you can kind of get more direct guidance and response. You know, when you do have a case of COVID, and we all will, if you haven't already. I mean, it's just, you're going to have to deal with that and understand the quarantine guidelines and all of that good stuff. But we're playing full time now. We've got, I was telling the guys on the call before we started, we're fully masked even during competition. So our players, our wrestlers are wrestling each other with masks on. Our basketball players are banging under the boards with masks on. I mean, it's very different. You never in a million years would have thought so, but we're just glad to have them out there playing.
Thanks, Harold. Anthony, can you let us know what's going on in Iowa?
Yeah, since the beginning of COVID, it's been definitely interesting for us here in Iowa. We got started back playing baseball in the summer in June. The governor basically didn't let any of us know. She basically said, you've got 10 days to get your baseball season started. So we had to put together a coaching staff because we didn't think we were coming back at all during the summer. So we've been full go pretty much since June, with very minimal adjustments to what we're doing. We're not wearing masks when we're playing. It's a fight to get kids or anyone to wear masks, you know, in and out of the locker rooms and things like that. My wife and I took a 36-hour vacation up to South Dakota this summer, and I was on a pier, just got to the pier fishing with my kids when I got a phone call from our baseball coach that one of our baseball players had tested positive. I think we were ranked number 3 in the state at the time, and possibly going to win the state championship, and then found out, you know, on that trip, had to drive back to Sioux City that our baseball season was done. And then our softball team ended up not making it to the playoffs either because of COVID. So we've had kind of just an interesting go, but we've been full go, and our governor continues to relax the restrictions just about every week. Just this morning, I was working on, we're opening up 300 more tickets to our district wrestling event that we're hosting on Saturday. So I'm sure most of you have probably been through it, but especially here in Northwest Iowa, where, you know, COVID doesn't exist, or they're just not, no one's worried about it. I've probably gotten more hate emails and death threats over, you know, trying to limit fans and trying to consider the safety of others than I can ever imagine, you know, getting as being an athletic director. And, you know, I tell them I don't know what's going on. I'm not a district health specialist in any way, but for some reason these decisions keep coming on my desk, and I'm the one making them. So it's been interesting. It's been a challenge. I've had a friend of mine who's been an AD for over 20 years, and he said this is by far the worst year that he's ever had as an athletic director. So we're full go. You know, everything's opening up, and it's really tough to mandate anything here in Northwest Iowa.
Thanks a lot, Anthony. Joey, what's Colorado? And then we'll ask a couple questions after you.
Yeah, that all sounds pretty familiar here. Sorry, I had to step outside. I got announcements going on in the building. But yeah, so we were able to.
All right, technical difficulties. We'll bring. He's got announcements. We all know how that goes. It's no big deal. But we'll go to Anthony then. Oh, there's Joey. He's back. Hold on.
Hey, yeah, sorry, I had to step outside. The announcements are going on in the building. So Denver, it's funny. Right now we have boys and girls basketball going, masked up fully, and we have wrestling going. But when you wrestle, you don't have to wear a mask. It's kind of interesting. We're going through the same things, that everybody's going through, and just like you were saying over there in Iowa, you're getting these death threats and everything. It's like, everybody's going through a tough time, teachers, coaches, ADs, everybody, parents, but especially the students, so we're just all trying to do the best we could do with this. But yeah, our Denver County, actually, the numbers are really good in Denver right now. So Denver County just relaxed some of their restrictions. So we're going to get more spectators in. So things are going in the right direction in Denver right now.
Thanks, Joey. One question I have for you is if you could just describe one challenge and one solution you guys came up with along the way for your school. Could be simple, but I think a lot of the folks are in different spots and can learn from a situation that maybe you incurred and came up with a solution. Or you might have stole it from another state or whatever, but definitely something you would recommend, very practical and useful for everyone else to hear. Let's go with Anthony.
And I don't know how national this brand is right now, but we've used Varsity Bound quite a bit. We use it for all of our communication with our athletes, and they keep stats and everything like that in Iowa. But Varsity Bound also came out with a COVID-19 tracker, which has been really helpful for us. And so what we've made is each one of our kids, before they enter the building or before they go to a practice or whatever it is, they have to fill out the COVID screening process. And so when they're at home, they have to take their temperature, they have to monitor, they have to put that in, they have to mark yes or no if they have a cough or whatever it might be. So it goes through all of the COVID symptoms, and the kids have to fill it out. And we do not allow them to show up to practice until they filled out that complete form. And obviously they can lie about it, but it's important for us to know what's going on. Some of them most of the kids are truthful about if they have any symptoms or anything like that. And then and I receive an alert, their head coach receives, if they mark yes on any of the symptoms, if they're above, a certain temperature range, we receive an alert right away to our phones and through email. And it just gives us an update on what a kid is doing so we can circle back to that kid. It was really helpful, especially for us in the summertime, when they're not coming to school. So we were able to get all that health information from them, and then we could follow up with the kid and the parent and the coach and make sure that we had all of our bases covered.
Thank you. Harold.
I think one of the initial challenges for us was trying to strike a balance of what's appropriate information to send out to families or teams if you have a positive case versus what is sort of the protected, you want to protect the privacy of the individual and the families who test positive. So our communications department and myself, we kind of really sat down and, as cases started to happen, we developed a very good process that kind of streamlined everything. And we also developed, a policy or a process of keeping really thorough records. Once you have a student have COVID, they are exempt from quarantine for 90 days. And so, at least that's what we're operating under here in St. Louis County. And so, for me, that became, a big part of my job is just keeping track of who's had it, who hasn't had it. Unfortunately, my basketball team had to quarantine 2 14-day stints in a 5-week period. And you know, it just gets so frustrating. But when you do your contact tracing and you get to that point, you know, it does make a big difference, and it helps with, you know, the unfortunate, you know, events of like parents really getting on you. And you know, thankfully I haven't had any of the death threats and stuff, but I tell you what, people do get uptight and they don't understand. But if you have a process, you have a policy in place, you can certainly, you know, help mitigate some of those things.
Thank you. Joey from Denver, probably from the sports medicine side potentially, which is kind of why I like your slant here.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. So a couple of these, when I looked at this question, I put down logistics of symptom trackers, communication were my top two, and Anthony and Harold just hit those. And then the other one, and I guess this would be more of a sports medicine side, was you know, engagement of the community and the student athletes. Being we're all at Catholic schools, right? There's a business side to this. There's a business side, and there's also with these students, you know, there was a period of time where kids weren't on our campus for 9 weeks, you know. So the problem or the challenge of engagement, keeping kids engaged, keeping families engaged. And so we went to social media with kind of like a robust attack, you know, hitting topics with mental wellness, you know, stuff about the different training tips, things to do at home, but just trying to keep people engaged. We even went as far as to send little gifts to our athletes over the holidays, just so that the families and the students know that, you know, just because they're not here doesn't mean we're not thinking about them and not engaged with them. And yeah, and the logistics of the symptom trackers have been huge, and also just the communication. You know, there could be a positive case. We get notified of a positive case at 1 p.m. and we have to notify those that have been exposed, you know, by 3 o'clock. So, and then they can't go to practice. So having that strong, robust system of communication has been huge.
Awesome. Before we go into our breakout rooms, one question, and I think a lot of us obviously care about this, is how have you been able to incorporate faith and spirituality into your programs during this time? Obviously, it's not the normal time, and we all love team masses, team prayer service, and different things. But during this pandemic, since you're on campus and going, so maybe some differences or some things you've adjusted, or you know, some tips that people can take away to use for the teams. I know that's something we all struggle with. I mean, Joey just touched on the community and engagement. Obviously, we all have monthly and weekly masses and all the different things, but they kind of dissipate when you're in hybrid learning or whatever the case might be. So I don't know. Harold, you guys done anything on campus that has kind of touched on the faith side of athletics?
You know, unfortunately, you're exactly right, Leo. It's the social aspect of it, and getting together as a big group and as a community. You know, that unfortunately is not happening. And to quote my football coach this past fall, I mean, he says that it's palpable. I mean, you can tell a huge difference in the fact that we're not able to get together, you know, as a large group, as a football community or a soccer community, you know, or even as a altogether community. So we've worked really hard to really focus on gratitude, and so that's been kind of a recurring theme for us. And so you know, the prayer of generosity, you know, gets said quite a bit, and you know, we really just we focus on with our players, and you know, for me as the athletic director with our families, we just hit home, we just hit really hard the fact that we need to be thankful. We need to be thankful that we're healthy. We have the opportunity to play. We have great facilities that we can come together and still practice. We can still work out. And you know, even like what Joey was talking about with the virtual, you know, we invested in. We have the ability to live stream our games. So if you're a spectator that can't be in the building, you can still see it live on our YouTube channel. We've invested in virtual workouts with a company called Interpro, and so it's all these things that we're trying to do, and under the theme of the idea of gratitude, just being thankful for the opportunity.
I like that. I got to come up with a theme or a hashtag. Appreciate it. It's a good takeaway. Anthony?
I think what Joey had alluded to earlier, we continue to try to have practice throughout the spring. So we did virtual practices or Zoom practices with our teams to keep the kids engaged, and the spiritual aspect was part of that with all of our coaches. So we did as much as we could through Zoom. And then since we've been back at school, we've actually moved all of our masses into the gym. So we set up the gym for mass as opposed to having it in the school church. So we spread out everybody in the gym. So we've continued to have our weekly church services, which has been great for us here at Heelan.
And Joey, and the LaSalle community, I'm sure it's important.
Yeah, it's huge. Being at a high school, right, a Catholic high school or a Catholic institution, the reminder has been on the bigger picture, right? We're not just coaches, we're not just teachers. This is a vocation. We're here for a reason, a higher purpose to help these students. And like Harold was saying, it's just been, perspective, a reminder of that for everybody. Coaches, our AD has talked about, hey, coaches, yeah, you might be the football coach or you might be the basketball coach. But if that's all you're coaching, that's not what you're here for, right? We're here to develop young men and women of character, under the presence of God, so that's been a complete reminder this year throughout. There's a bigger picture here. This is a great opportunity to help educate kids on that bigger picture. And it's funny, you're talking about the masses, Anthony, you're talking about the masses in the gym. I can imagine that right now, but it's funny, we're doing live Facebook streaming of our masses, and kids are in their classrooms and they're like, watching it on the projector. It's a different deal, but it's, we're still getting it. So.
Sure. Awesome. So it's right around the breakout room time. I've assigned a room for you. I'm pretty sure Joey and Anthony and Harold are in each room. If not, I'll make sure one of them are in there. They'll be kind of leading the discussion, kind of gives us an opportunity to gather in I think there are about 7 or 8 people in every room, talk about some things. I've set it for 12 minutes, and then we'll come back and just share a couple of big picture ideas with the group and kind of wrap up our roundtable. So I hope this works. I'll try. I'm going to put these in the breakout rooms. I'm going to open them up, and then there's a timer on there, and I'll be calling you back in a few minutes, and enjoy the conversation within the small group setting. All right, well, welcome back to everybody. Hopefully you had some nice small group conversation. Just any ideas people would like to share, some things that came up that you thought would be beneficial for the entire group in your setting from, I don't know, Joe or anyone really can speak. You know, it's not it's an open roundtable. So if anyone had any questions or comments, now would be the time before we start to wrap it up. Obviously, hopefully it was productive and people are picking away ideas one at a time here, but I don't know if Joey or Harold or Anthony, you want to kind of just share a thought or two if needed?
Yeah, I'd jump in. So my group, just real quick, so we got Buddy in Syracuse, Jolene and Eric in California, and we're talking about challenges, and these folks here haven't even had an opportunity to play. In California, the kids aren't even on campus, they're not even able to play anything. Buddy's talking about in New York, and this seems to be a common thing too, where your governing body or your state department drops regulations on you 2 days before the season starts, right? Or sets new guidelines right before the season starts. It's a huge challenge, right? And so Buddy's talking about testing. So in his county, right, they're going to have to do, and Buddy, you could talk about this real quick, but the testing that you're going to have to do, they're providing you with the test, but you have to execute those tests, right? Every 2 weeks or every week, you said. It just seems
it's a weekly deal. It's a weekly deal. They're providing us the tests. We have to pick them up. We're responsible for doing the testing. We're responsible for recording it and sending it into the county. But we're doing it. And the bad part, another bad part about it is that the counties around us that have schools in our league aren't being required to test. So the inconsistencies is causing issues about whether superintendents are going to allow, if we have to test to keep kids safe, which I don't necessarily, the safety isn't the issue. I think this is more a political deal that they can say they're trying to keep kids safe. In the other counties, they don't have to test. So now there's some questions about between superintendents and administrations of schools saying, can we really play schools from outside of our county and still be safe? It's turned into a mess. And the governor, and I did have to say, our governor, they were kicking the governor. The politicians around the state were starting to say kids needed to play, trying to appease their constituencies. So the governor, the passive aggressive Governor Cuomo that we have, just kicked it down and told the counties to figure out then how to do it. So he just turned those guys that were kicking the bear, turned to the bad guys. And so they all scrambled to try to figure out how to do it. So it's been an interesting few weeks. Let's put it that way.
For sure.
I would say, Leo, the nice thing is, I don't know how much our group covered as far as, solutions or what we can do, but it's nice as fellow ADs and, fellow ADs at Catholic schools is that we're all fighting the good fight, and to be able to share that with other people and know you're not the only one that's going through this struggle every day about what's right and what's wrong and trying to keep people happy and parents happy and kids safe. It's just, it's been tough, I think for all of us to navigate through this process.
Harold, you got anything? Last minute thoughts here, last second?
No, absolutely. It was great. I had panelists from California and New Mexico, and both states are obviously trying to get sports off the ground. And the fact that the ADs in my group are looking ahead, and they're trying to figure out, how do you, even something as basic as locker room use, how are you using locker rooms? Are you able to use them? How are you dealing with spectators and the dad who wants to park his car up on the hill to see a football game when no spectators are allowed? And so how do you deal with those challenges? And it's just ultimately for us it's been about just communication and setting those expectations. And we've been fortunate now that we are allowing spectators, and so the combination of spectators and also investing, if you're able to invest into some live stream technology, really, helps and goes a long way with parents and spectators.
All right, well, we're at kind of our end point, and we have some other programming. So first of all, I'd like to thank Joey, Anthony, and Harold for taking the time and commitment to helping us out and lead discussion. I appreciate it. We all can learn from each other. As I said in the beginning, It does warm my heart to see people from around the country, because when we created the name Catholic, that was the first part. The second part was national. And I think we're hitting both, you know, in the first two words of the organization. We're looking to grow at all times. If you, we have, there's a female athletic administrator roundtable coming up, and then there's Conquering Sports, the women, where women lead the way. There's two other breakout sessions. And then the final one is, if you're not familiar with Play Like a Champion, Kristen Sheehan is presenting Play Like a Champion. I believe that's 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, but the schedule's online. So there's 3 opportunities to continue to grow. Obviously, we are always looking for people that want to participate. It's obvious this is a hobby, not my full-time job necessarily. So our next plan is, obviously we're creating awareness and growth, and always, you know, Harold and Anthony reached out saying they'd love to be a part. So as we begin to grow this, I'll be reaching out. We'll be reaching out to see who can help us. If you have partners that want to help fiscally, donations or 501c3, all that stuff, as we begin to grow, that's part of the process. That's the shameless plug, but I'll move on because we don't need it, because we'll, hopefully with faith and spirituality and our connection to mission, we can continue to grow, whether or not we're, you know, living on a penny budget or a $1 million budget. But again, we just looking forward, we're hoping we'll have another spring one. So I feel like, and I think a lot of people have mentioned that we do one in April-ish, maybe early May, kind of preparing for summer and the next moving forward. And COVID probably moves 2 to 3 months. For some states, they might still be in, who knows, right? So, well, if you have some interesting topics you'd like to lead a discussion, be a part of all that stuff, reach out. And then our goal, truthfully, our goal would be the summer/fall. Probably, if I was a betting person, push it back, but that to do our live retreat in Atlanta is still the play when the weather gets a little bit better. And so we're still trying to do it, but we'll see where it goes. We weren't able to get it done last summer for obvious reasons. So that's kind of a year in a glance. And we'll have monthly sessions and continue to build off things like social justice, Catholic identity, best practices, sports med, looking to grow all the coaches stuff. So I think it's been a great year of growth where a lot of people have not been able to grow. And I appreciate your continued support and participation. Thank you again. For those of you who don't know, there's someone on this call named Tamara. She has been like our rock. She's the reason why this stuff happens. We are getting to a position where we can grow and doing a great job. So again, thank you very much for your time, and enjoy the rest of the retreat, and be safe and healthy and be well. If the panelists can stay on, I'd love to just chat real quick and wrap up, but thank you very much and enjoy the day and be safe.